Episode 5: The Charter of Fundamental Rights of the European Union. Last time, we saw how post-war Europe built the European Convention on Human Rights, a bold step in turning values into law. But here's the twist. The Council of Europe, the parent of the Convention, isn't the same as the European Union. Different institutions, different powers. So when the EU asked itself, how do we define rights for our citizens? It didn't revise an old document, it wrote its own. And so, in the year 2000, the EU introduced its charter, a fresh framework for a new generation of Europeans. This wasn't just a copy-paste of the past. The EU Charter expanded the rights story into new territory, because the 21st century came with new challenges. Let's break it down. The Charter reaffirmed timeless rights like human dignity and equality. But it also brought in the big new ones: the right to personal data protection, the right to good administration, environmental protection, bioethics, workers' rights in a single market, protection against unjustified dismissal, consumer rights in the digital age. These weren't just idealistic add-ons, they reflected a real shift. Europe wasn't just uniting markets, it was uniting people. So how does the Charter actually work? First, it's legally binding, thanks to the Treaty of Lisbon in 2009. That means every EU law and policy must respect it, so do national laws when they're applying EU law. Second, it's enforced by the Court of Justice of the European Union, based in Luxembourg. You can challenge EU institutions or national authorities if they're acting within the scope of EU law. It's not just decorative, it's got legal bite, and if your charter rights are breached, there are procedures to respond. You can petition the European Parliament, file a complaint with the European Ombudsman, bring your case to national courts or the Court of the EU. Yes, it takes effort, but that's how democracies hold power accountable step by step. Of course, not every government plays fair. Some embrace the Charter in speeches and sidestep it in policy. From attacks on media freedom to discriminatory asylum procedures, Charter principles are tested daily. But the EU is responding. It's launched infringement procedures against states that cross the line. It's not just symbolic. Countries have been brought to court and lost. Funds have been frozen. Laws repealed. Activists supported. The Charter is now a line in the sand. Cross it and expect consequences. Let's now jump fast to the future and see how the Charter is doing. By 2075, the Charter still guarantees freedom of expression, freedom of thought, and the right to receive and share information. But no one said anything about interference by the algorithm. You're free to speak, but whether anyone hears you, that depends on how your post ranks against a cat video and a concert recap. This isn't classic censorship, it's digital demotion. No bans, no blocks, just silence by design. You see what you already agree with, you hear voices that sound like yours, and you vote based on what the system thinks you'll like. The Charter imagines citizens debating in a shared public space. But in 2075, that space is broken. Democracy is filtered. Policy is shaped by popularity, and your opinion? Optimized for someone else's profit. But citizens are fighting back. They want to update the Charter, to protect not just your right to speak, but your right to be heard. The Charter of Fundamental Rights isn't a bonus track, it's the backbone of EU values, and it only matters if we read it, test it, and defend it. Next time, we dive into the most contested right of the digital age: your data, your privacy, your control. Let's just say autoplay isn't the only thing you should worry about.